We begin now with the mystery of the Fed's missing dots being solved. Let's bring in Bloomberg Radio's McKee. And so, Michael, this is sort of an extraordinary thing where one president comes out of the Fed and says, boy, I'm going to take a different path here, and I'll reveal what I'm saying. Have you remember this ever happening before?
No, but the dot plot is a relatively recent investment. It compiles Fed officials' views of where the Fed funds rate is going to be based on their individual forecasts. And of course, this week we saw that one member wasn't playing anymore. He made a forecast for one move up this year and then nothing going forward. And as you mentioned, it turns out to be St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard, sometimes a maverick on the committee. He says he's changing the way he looks at the economy and forecasting, going to what he calls a regime base. In other words, the new normal is going to stay the way we are. Instead of looking at converging growth, unemployment, and inflation and what that means for the future path of policy, he's just going to assume nothing changes in the economy for right now, which implies one more move this year and then nothing out into the future. If that changes, he'll change his forecast. But since they can't forecast a change, he's not going to, and he's not going to be contributing in a meaningful way to the dot plot going forward.
So, Mike, is it implicit in what Bullard has said that the other people are doing it wrong? I mean, what will be the reaction of the other members of the FOMC to this?
That's going to be very interesting to find out because, yes, it does seem to be an implicit criticism. He's long been a critic of the dot plot, feeling it doesn't necessarily work anymore. So it will be interesting to see the minutes. They come out on July 6th and see how this has been received.
Is this the beginning of the end for the dot plot?
It could be. On the other hand, there's a reason to think there may be some pushback because Bullard is saying a data-dependent Fed should be dependent on the data. You shouldn't change your forecast until you know something has changed in the economy. And yet data is inherently backward-looking. So by the time you get the data, maybe it's too late and the Fed will be behind the curve. That's an argument that he'll get around the table, I'm sure.